it stops, no one knows. We're going head into the unknown. Na, 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 na.
Hello, everybody. Happy Thursday. I know I'm a little early. I got to be football moms tonight, but Delphi just can't stop giving. So here we are. Hi, Ava. Hi, Missing Unsolved Crime. Hey, 10. Best intro in the game. Yeah, thanks to Christine. She's amazing. Hey, Rexy. Hi, Cat's Eye. Hi, Shmeeda. Hi, Stephanie. Cool Gamer. Big J. What's up, Katie? Hey, Tracy. Rexy. And Princess Megan Elsa is here. The Rockaways. And he's like, bitch, please. Hey, Crime Curious. Hey, Mez. I know it's a freaking nightmare. It's a mess. Hey, Jenny. What's up, Quinny? Sluice Investigates. Hi, Jax. Hey, President. You got too many fives in there. You're throwing me off. Hey, Alicia. What's up, William? Jax. It's always good to see you. Hey, Mary Jane. Oh, thank you, 10. Yeah. So I have that. I'm not sure that I think that she can do that, but we're gonna, not that she can't do it. That's not what I mean, but there's some interesting points in these docs. So we'll get to that though. We'll get to that for sure. Hey, Lakeside Justice. Hey, Jojo. All right. So we have a couple more minutes. Yeah. So okay. So if you guys aren't aware of what's going on in the Delphi world at this very moment, there is some chaos with the removal of the attorneys. So Baldwin and Rozzi had a hearing with Judge Gull on Thursday where they did everything behind, like in chambers, which is, to me, it's interesting because an attorney who withdraws should be doing so on the court record. So that's a little different, but that's not what we're here to talk about today. So she has them in chambers and essentially gets them to withdraw. Baldwin is, the attorney whose office was supposedly the one that got the pictures taken and leaked out of the crime scene. So she says, like, hey, you guys have got to go. There's been like the hubbub of whether they were told they had to leave, whether she gave them like a nice option of, yes, you guys, it's probably in your best interest if you go, kind of nicely. And I was kind of like, I think there was like more of a like knockdown drag out, but that's me. And so she came forward in the 3-minute hearing and said that Baldwin had verbally withdrawn, which she accepted, and that Rozzi was going to be doing so via written motion. Well, he did not file a written motion. This is why I think that that's not going to matter, because I know that there's going to be a ton of people who are going to come in here and say that to me. I get it. He did not file a written motion to leave. He did not file a written motion to be removed from the case. So her accepting his removal, I don't know how she can when there is no motion for him to remove himself. She's accepting something that hasn't happened. On the fact that she thought it was going to happen, that she assumed it would happen. Yeah, that there is no written motion with him. There's no oral argument on record. And I think we're going to get into this, why I think that's important. So I'm going to take a deep breath. I need you guys to take a deep breath. And I know tons of people, when they show up in here after a couple of their lives are over that I know they're watching now, are going to come in here. They're going to say the exact same thing. My opinion, and I'm going to end up repeating it, so bear with me. I do not think it matters. I do not think her motion is going to matter for two reasons. One, he did not file a written motion to remove himself. Two, when we read through these documents, actually, there's three reasons. Two, when we read through these documents, you're going to see that he's actually asking for the recording of what happened in chambers, that it was recorded, and he wants the recording so he can prove that he never said he was leaving. And he can prove what he's saying in these documents. So that's two. Three, the request that Rozzi, I always screw that up, I apologize. The request that Rozzi put in is not for her to technically recuse herself. It's for a higher judge to look at the case and have her removed. That isn't going to go away. So whether she wants to write that she accepts his, withdrawal, he has not withdrawn. So she's preempting a withdrawal that never happened. Now, we don't know what was said in there because we don't have that recording, and there's no court record of it. But I'm telling you right now, this is not over. This is not going to just be like, well, sorry, Judge Gull put in that she already accepted it. Too bad, Rozzi. That's not what's going to happen. Hi, Marshall. Hi, Malicious Intent. Well, thank you, Chair K. Get some Ben & Jerry's. Get the popcorn. Get whatever you want. It is a lot. Yeah, after he files. So she can backdate that all she wants to, but I don't think it's going to, and once again, I could be wrong. I am not an attorney. I just went to school for criminal justice and forensic science. So you can take it for what you want. My opinion is that it will not matter. It will not matter. Hey, Johnny. Yeah. I knew he was going to fight this. Hey, Scottish Queen. I am. I'm early. So today I was actually working on cropping and cutting up all the interviews. That's what I was working on this morning. And then this stuff comes out when I had to go pick up one of the kids who had a minimum day. So I went to go pick up the middle child. And this is all happening and coming down while I'm driving. I'm like, okay, well, so I almost wasn't even going to do a live today because I was hoping to get all the cropping done of what we needed to so we could go through that. And then this happens, and I'm like, all right, I'll just do an early live so I can still be football mom tonight. And here we are. Make sure I have enough Dr. Pepper. I'm probably going to have to get up and get one. The judge is like Amber Heard saying pledge and donate synonymous with one another. Right. That's how I feel. Hi, Sluice. I said hi to you earlier, but I don't think you were back in yet. Little Human is good at football. Hey, Jeannie. Hey, Music City Mom. I wish I could have a minimum day. I know. It's the case that just keeps on giving. And I swear, since that darn memorandum came down, it's like I can't get away. Can't get 5 seconds apiece. Like, it's ridiculous. Something's going on with my camera. I don't know why it's all blurry. There we go. Get the tea, get the coffee, get the popcorn, get whatever snacks you need. So we've got some documents to go through. I know that they have been read on a couple other channels. We're still going to read through them. We're going to read through them a little slower so we can actually see what's going on. And I can tell you guys my points on why I feel like I don't know if it's going to matter. This isn't over. Regardless of whatever motion she put in today and regardless of what Rozzi put in today, this is not over. It's not going to be like Rozzi's just going to be like, oh, well, sorry, I guess she already put that order in, so I'm done. It's not going to happen. The judge won't be excused and the new lawyers for Allen has been appointed. He doesn't have new lawyers yet. There's only one lawyer on record. And if you look at anything on Carroll County's website, there's no new lawyer. Okay. Hey, True Crime Crazy. Yep, Peasy. This was what I posted the article. I should pull that up before we even get started on this, because I got some people in agreement with it, and some were like, that's not how it went. Let me pull it up real quick. I know. If the guy is guilty, they're doing a really good job of making it seem like that he potentially didn't do it. Like, that's how I feel like the prosecution and the investigators are like, you're screwing it up so much. I have some screenshots. What's your email? It is criminality187@gmail. I can't even. They probably need to just stay as far away from this as they can until it actually goes to trial, because this has got to be an emotional roller coaster for them. That was the first thing I thought of. I was like, it's a good day for the defense team. It's a good day for Richard Allen, but it's chaos for those families. It's chaos. And it's chaos for his family. I mean, it's chaos across the board. They needed, like, I'm telling you, I think they just need to stay. This is like, I have no right to tell them what they should or shouldn't do. And I don't mean it that way, but I'm just thinking, like, just wait until the trial starts and then come back. I have a dog scratching at the door. Oh, that would be interesting if that's the case. Okay, let me share this with you guys. Yeah, just to keeps on going, chugging along. This case is killing me, Smalls. You've missed what's happened today, Scottish Queen? Well, you came to the right place, because I'm going to fill you in. Okay, so Delphi murder suspect Richard Allen's defense team withdraws from case after alleged leaked photos. The defense counsel for Delphi murder suspect Richard Allen withdrew from the double murder case Thursday after allegations that leaked photos of the crime scene came from one of the attorney's associates. The gruesome images, which were shared via text and appeared on social media, were taken in the wooded area off the Monon High Bridge Trail, Delphi, Indiana, where Liberty, Libby, and Abby were murdered after they disappeared from a hike on February 13th. We've had an unexpected turn of events, ladies and gentlemen, Carroll County Judge Fran Gull said during Thursday's hearing, which was recorded by Fox 59. Earlier this afternoon, an unexpected turn of events. Unexpected. Which everybody was like, this was not unexpected. Most people expected that this was going to happen. Not that they were going to withdraw. Maybe that's what her unexpected was. But when you listen to the motions, that the documents that were filed today, you're going to see a different presentation of that information. We have an unexpected turn of events, ladies and gentlemen. Earlier this afternoon, the defense attorneys have withdrawn their representation of Mr. Allen. Gull ordered Allen, who is entitled to new counsel, to be sent back to Westville Correctional Facility. She has ordered his counsel to send discovery back to the state of Indiana. The attorneys, Andrew Baldwin and Bradley Rozzi, agreed to cooperate with successor counsel. Baldwin had hired his own attorney, and his name was David Hennessy. He told Fox News Digital that attorneys did not quit the case, but withdrew under coercive circumstances. They dedicated their lives to an innocent client. Hennessy had filed a memo Thursday to argue that Baldwin should not be disqualified from representing Allen because they had developed a strong and trusting bond prior to his withdrawal. Disqualification of either of his court-appointed attorneys would greatly prejudice his right to counsel and a timely trial. Disqualification of counsel is an extreme remedy for any alleged or perceived violation of court's order. Most, if not all, cases concerning disqualification of counsel involve conflicts of interest. Let me let this dog in. Okay. So essentially, they're stating that it was coercive. So when we start going through the documents, you guys are going to see that too. So there's 3. This one I don't actually have the document link for. I only got screenshots, so I'm going to have to grab those real quick. Okay, so there's a few different ones that were actually dropped today. And then we have what she has to say. So like I said, we'll go through it. Hello everybody that's popped in when I didn't get a chance to say hello. Hi Shebune. Okay. Make it so you guys can see it. Okay, so and some of them are a little lengthy. So if I miss your guys' comments in chat, I apologize. If it's something when I come back and I say like, hey, okay, I'm gonna check what you guys say, make sure you guys tell it to me then, okay, if it's like important. November 14th, 2022, counsel entered his appearance on behalf of Richard Allen. Counsel has engaged in the continuous representation of defendant Allen since that date and time. On October 12th of 2023, the court communicated with prosecutor McClelland, attorney Rozzi, and attorney Baldwin, at which time the court ordered attorneys Rozzi and Baldwin to cease work on Mr. Allen's case. Down dirty and dishy. I appreciate that. Thank you. No, we're in serious mode, but we can also have fun. Hey, Justin. Hi, Peter. So they were ordered to cease work on Mr. Allen's case until the parties were set to appear in court on October 19th, 2023. The chilling effect of the court's emailed order was to essentially strip defendant Allen of his Sixth Amendment right to representation and essentially disarmed attorneys Rozzi, Baldwin, and defendant Allen during the week leading up to the scheduled hearing, which was ordered by the court. Now, here's something that I find very interesting. You tell all the attorneys that they're coming for a status hearing. This is what she did. This is what Gull did. She ordered a status hearing, made it so that it was mandatory that they were all there. They had to clear their calendars to make sure they were there. But a week prior, 7 days prior, she actually told them they couldn't work on the case anymore. So they couldn't even prepare for this hearing that she's now telling them that they have on the 19th. It's a status hearing. It's not a new case. It's listed under Richard Allen's case number. Richard Allen was put in to be transferred to be there in person for the hearing. And she tells them they can't work on it. So you have a status hearing coming up. It does not clarify what the status hearing is for. And she says, sorry, you guys, you can't actually work on this case right now. Cease work on Mr. Allen's case. And that's in quotes. So during the week leading up to the scheduled hearing, which was ordered by the court, in October 17th, 2023 email, attorney Rozzi requested a conference to determine what we, the court, prosecutor, and defense counsel, are trying to accomplish on Thursday, especially in terms of what is expected of us while we are on the record in open court. In response, the court ordered both the defense and prosecutor to appear in chambers at 12:30 p.m. on October 19th. See, and remember, one of the biggest issues I had was why was McClelland and his quote-unquote witnesses, why were they there for hours beforehand? It didn't make sense to me that they would have been there for hours beforehand. And now I find it also interesting that they were told to be there at 12:30 to be in chambers, and that these witnesses were also there hours early. So they don't know what this hearing is about. They're literally saying we need a conversation to discuss what's happening in open court, so we're prepared. You guys see what I'm saying there? Hold on. So they want to know what's happening. They get there at 12:30, which the judge tells them to do. And when they get there, there's witnesses there. Witnesses for what? Like they don't even know what's happening in court, because it's just a scheduled status hearing for Richard Allen. It has nothing to do with anything. On October 19th, 2023, attorneys Rozzi and Baldwin appeared. Let me get you the next one. I wish I had put these in order, which I didn't. Come on. Here. Appeared in the Allen County Courthouse in advance of the 2 p.m. hearing. This was prompted by attorney Rozzi requesting that the parties communicate in advance of the scheduled hearing. Attorneys Rozzi and Baldwin appeared in chambers on the 19th at approximately 12:30 p.m., at which time the prosecution was present. Attorney Rozzi is of the understanding that the court reporter secured an audio recording of the in-chamber conference, which took place in 2 parts. The court first conducted business as it related to several pending motions by communicating with the parties and issuing rulings on said motions. This right here tells me she never planned on going into that courtroom. The status hearing, so she could rule on motions, why is that coming up first? So she never intended on walking into that courtroom. Otherwise, that wouldn't have been first. The court then read a prepared statement to attorneys Rozzi and Baldwin, identifying various issues throughout the case through which attorneys Rozzi and Baldwin exercised gross negligence in carrying out their responsibilities as counsel for defendant Allen. The court then suggested that attorneys Rozzi and Baldwin engage in a discussion outside of chambers regarding the allegations. Attorneys Rozzi and Baldwin asked for clarification, at which time the court communicated to attorneys Rozzi and Baldwin that there were 2 distinct options. 1, either voluntarily withdraw their appearances and exit the courthouse in advance of the hearing, or 2, participate in the 2 p.m. hearing in the courtroom where a media camera was installed, the national media was present, and the law enforcement community was seated in the jury box directly behind defense counsel table. At which time the court would read the prepared statement into the record and then disqualify both attorney Rozzi and attorney Baldwin in the presence of defendant Allen, his family, and the general public. So, essentially, there is, and this was another big issue I had. Why in the world would Doug Carter, Jerry Holman, Tony Liggett, why would those people even be there? Okay, Jerry Holman, maybe, because, you know, that's who Murder Sheet says they spoke with. But why were they there hours beforehand? They were prepared to already show some form of intimidation that this was what was going to happen. Otherwise, if she thought that they were going to go into the courtroom and that they were going to say, hey, we're going to go out and we're going to fight this and we're going to do it in, you know, in open court, then they walk in and then all the cops are there. So she already had the cops there. So who told the cops to be there? And if it was McClelland, who told McClelland to have the cops there? This isn't in any of the email, like, hey, make sure, you know, we're going to be talking about the leak and what's going on. We're going to be discussing all of that in chambers beforehand. Make sure if you guys have any documentation or if you have any, you know, witnesses or anything like that, make sure you guys bring them with you. That's not the conversation that's being had per attorney Bradley Rozzi. She's literally saying, Just show up. We'll go over what's going to happen in court. But how in the world did Doug Carter, Tony Liggett, Jerry Holman, and the rest of law enforcement know to be there hours early? Every day that I think, like, okay, I'm going to sit down. I'm writing out all the points on why I think Richard Allen is guilty and why I think that this is just, this should just go the way that it's going and everything's going to be fine. Every time I try to convince myself of that, some of this shit happens and I just cannot figure out what the hell is actually happening here. Oh, thank you for joining Flipping Stones. I appreciate it. I could tell that I'm in the right chat. I don't even know. I don't even know what's right. And this is just such nonsense. It's just crazy. So she had a pre-prepared or a prepared statement like to read to them. About their own negligence, essentially. That she didn't even give them the idea that that's what was going to happen. And said, you could either leave, just walk out of the courthouse in advance of the hearing, or you can sit down and participate. In front of the media, in front of all the public, in front of the defendant, his family, just everybody. Basically, I'll embarrass the shit out of you. Oh, shoot. After waiting, okay, and then here's the other part. She goes, okay, here's the prepared statement. You guys now leave chambers and go out and discuss it amongst yourselves on what you're gonna do. What you're gonna do. Go talk about it, and then you come back and let me know what you've decided. What? Hi, Aries Fire. Right. I agree with you. It should have. But here's the thing is she does have the court reporter in there. So, I mean, hopefully it becomes part of public record if there's something that actually happens with her. After waiting approximately 1/2 of an hour for defendant Allen to arrive at the courthouse, attorney Rozzi and attorney Baldwin communicated with defendant Allen regarding the stark choice the court had offered in chambers. Defendant Allen reaffirmed his desire to move forward under the representation of attorney Rozzi and attorney Baldwin. As of October 24th, defendant Allen objects to the court's attempts to strip him of his current counsel, attorneys Rozzi and Baldwin. As of October 24th, that's just 2 days ago. Oh, there's a footnote. Let me read you the footnote first before we move on. On October 12, 2023, attorney Rozzi filed correspondence with the court. Said correspondence contained a letter dated October 11, 2023, signed by defendant Allen, wherein defendant Allen acknowledged that he was aware of the issues regarding the crime scenes that were stolen from. I would assume that's going to say Baldwin's, but it doesn't have it on here. But from Baldwin's office. And he doesn't. So here's the thing. Is Richard Allen doesn't actually feel like these are going to create an unfair trial for him. So it doesn't go against his constitutional rights. Hi, ATS. An unexpected turn of narrative. Yeah. He sniffles too much. Mr. McSniffles. That's how I feel, Teresa. Like, there's a lot happening that he's not letting go. And I think that he also knows what the majority of us that have talked about this know, is that the timing of this whole entire leak really stinks. It really does. And now there's the defense of Richard Allen is being lost at the expense of, or I mean, it's being lost, and it's at the expense of the prosecutors wanting to cover for whatever the hell they have going on with the investigators. It's the best docket fight ever. It's the only way we're learning anything. I think it's definitely interesting. But so Richard Allen does not care that the crime scene photos have been leaked. He does not believe that it's going to have any effect on his trial, and The argument to that, if you're pro prosecution on this, would be, well, it's going to taint a jury pool. But problem is seeing those, if they were, even if they were out floating around all over the public, seeing those actually would bias the public against the defendant. So it still would, we'd still have to kind of cater more towards what he thinks and what he wants. Okay. Number 9, after speaking with Mr. Allen, Attorney Rozzi and Attorney Baldwin then returned to chambers, at which time Attorney Rozzi articulated to the court that the court had engaged in an ambush of defense counsel, entirely void of due process, and that Attorney Rozzi would withdraw his appearance, but that said withdrawal was not a voluntary withdrawal because the court made clear that if Attorney Rozzi did not agree to withdraw, the court would publicly shame him in front of the world and his client before forcing him off the case by disqualifying him. Hi, Sleuth Mom. Hey, Jeremiah. And I agree. And crime scene photos shouldn't really bias anybody, but people just automatically want justice for what happened, and that's the person sitting in front of them. So their mind just makes it so that's the person who did it because that's who they arrested. I don't disagree with you, PZ. I do not disagree with you. I'm actually, there's a whole little timeline going on right now about those photos and the dates that everybody's saying that they got them. And I think that there's a little bit of a cover up happening. I'm just going to put that out there. I think there's a little bit of a cover up happening about who had those photos, when they had those photos. And once it got leaked that they had those photos, by in my opinion, an unintentional leak from a YouTuber who said that they had those photos, they were like, crap, we've got to do something. We've got to get this, but we can't have these photos. So I'm not buying what's being sold over there either. Yeah, a bunch of fuckery going on all around the case. So he goes in and just says, hey, basically, you guys ambushed us and I don't want to quit. So you're giving me no choice that you're either going to publicly shame me and I don't want to quit. And here's my thought. Rozzi was the one that everybody was like, that's probably what, Fran Gull was surprised about because she was going to make Baldwin leave. But then Rozzi said he was going to leave too. And that was probably a shock to her. And now we're here like, no, it was both. She was going to force them both to leave. So why would she be forcing Rozzi to leave? What does he need to leave for? If Baldwin's office was the one that had the leak, Baldwin's office had the one that came, somebody who came in there, took all these pictures. Even if you backdate to the accidental email to Brandon Woodhouse back in April, that's also from Baldwin's office. Why does Rozzi need to leave the case if it's over this leak and all of this? What did she refer to it as? The gross negligence. So that's interesting to me. There's no reason to push him out. I mean, I don't think she should have pushed Baldwin out, but I understand it. I don't necessarily agree with it because Richard Allen is the defendant and his rights are the ones who have to be protected in this whole thing. Whether you think he's innocent or not, we've talked about that. Like, that's our constitutional right. So why does Rozzi need to leave? All of the events in chambers occurred without any formal allegations of contemptuous behavior by attorneys Rozzi or Baldwin, without any pending pleadings requesting disqualification of defense counsel, and without any pending disciplinary complaints with the Indiana Supreme Court's disciplinary commission. And that's not inaccurate. Nothing was filed with the disciplinary commission at that time, which would be interesting since she obviously already knew what she was calling them for on October 12th. So she had plenty of time to get a hold of McClelland and tell the law enforcement officers to be there She had plenty of time to file a disciplinary complaint. In total, attorneys Rozzi and attorney Baldwin have practiced law in the state of Indiana for more than 50 years without a single substantiated finding of a disciplinary action against either one. Over 50 years combined. They have no disciplinary actions. At no time, and not to say that they didn't have any that were submitted, but just no substantiated findings. At no time while in chambers did the court ever articulate to either attorney Rozzi or attorney Baldwin that their conduct compromised defendant Allen's defense in any way. In fact, defendant Allen himself doesn't believe this to be the case. There are no bona fide facts or circumstances wherein attorney Rozzi engaged in gross negligence, nor was there any showing that any conduct by attorney Rozzi resulted in negative consequences to another party, i.e. the defendant. In sum, attorneys Rozzi and Baldwin did nothing to compromise Richard Allen's defense. And this is exactly what I had said when it came out. When the whole thing came out about pictures, I'm like, it's as bad as it sounds, it's just the pictures. And I don't mean that to be submissive towards the families, but I mean it in evidence purposes. It's just the crime scene photos. Them going to the public or not going to the public does not change anything to do with them. It doesn't change their validity. It doesn't change that there's still evidence. It doesn't change anything. So I mean, I see this. It's not gross negligence. What did attorney Rozzi do to engage in gross negligence? If she was to submit something to the disciplinary commission, what would she submit for attorney Rozzi? What would be her complaint? Steve. She's definitely a seagull. So what would the complaint be? I don't know what you can complain that Rozzi did. I can see that you could figure out something that you're going to complain about Baldwin or file a formal complaint about Baldwin. I just don't see how you're going to have anything to do or have anything to file on Rozzi. And especially when they're the one that's the most important and I hate saying it like that because obviously the most important people here are Libby and Abby. But in the trial proceedings, at this point, it's like the constitutional rights of the defendant. You cannot violate them. If you do, you in turn never get justice for Libby and Abby. And I know that that's like contradicts it, but it's like right now his constitutional rights are the most important thing. No matter whether you think he's innocent or guilty. Attorney Rozzi oral acquiescence to withdraw his appearance as defendant Allen's attorney was forced, coerced, and driven only by the circumstances created by the tribunal, which delivered two terrible options: quit or be shamed in public before being disqualified from representing Mr. Allen. The court's premeditated ambush of the defense placed Attorney Baldwin's office and desired that Attorney Rozzi and Baldwin continue. Oh, I think that's the continued footnote from the other page. So the court's premeditated ambush of the defense placed attorneys Rozzi, Baldwin, and the client, Richard Allen, in the most compromising position. The trial court's stated intention to read a prepared statement criticizing defense counsel created an impossible ethical bind. If counsel did not agree to withdraw in chambers, the trial court would publicly disparage their representation of the accused, framing their advocacy on his behalf as gross negligence. casting both counsel and the merits of their client's defense in a negative light. This public statement and circumstance created by the trial court risks tainting the jury pool, harming their client's defense, undermining their professional relationship with the client, and possibly creating an actual conflict for their continued representation. Essentially saying if we had said, no, we're not quitting, and we had gone out in the public, the jury would have been tainted, that a jury pool could have been tainted by saying, like, his attorneys are grossly negligent and basically terrible lawyers and terrible human beings. And now anybody who sees that, because she let cameras come in for the first time ever, for the first time, she let the cameras into the courtroom, and then she's like, okay, yeah, you guys wanted cameras? Here you go. Here you go. Here's your cameras. Now we're going to go out there, and I'm going to go ahead and publicly shame you in front of the whole world. This, hey, Delphi After Dark. Yeah, this is exactly why she allowed cameras. She knew exactly what was going to happen. It was already pre-written. It was predestined for her. That's Robert. That's the middle guy in the leak. Yeah, somebody. I mean, like, who's watching the watchers? Like, these people are supposed to be, you know, a judge like Fran Gull is supposed to be like top notch, and like, who's her watcher? You know, she's supposed to be the overseer of justice in this courtroom. That's scary. The trial court's statement intention to read a prepared statement criticizing defense counsel. I think I already read that part. Number 16. The jury trial in this matter is set to commence on January 8th, 2024, a full 1 year and 3 months after the arrest of defendant Allen. The appointment of successor attorneys will prejudice defendant Allen by and through further delays in his case and trial. If, however, attorney Rozzi moves forward with his representation of defendant Allen, there will be no need for two newly appointed attorneys to dedicate hundreds and thousands of hours toward a mere review of the discovery, which continues to pour in as recent as late September. There will be no need to marshal all the discovery and return it to the prosecution. This is one of my favorite parts of this, is because I feel like that's part of the setup. Part of the setup is to get all the discovery back so that they can add the things in there that they are saying are missing, or they can, you know, remove the parts that a new attorney would have access to. It's so that the prosecutors and the investigators can fill it with the new narrative of all this new investigation, instead of the narrative that was filled with before, that these attorneys called them out on. You get new attorneys in there, they're going to have it's the same discovery, but with an entirely added layer. And if you keep even just Rozzi, he knows what they already had. And they don't want that. They don't want somebody who knows what they already had. Let me see where I was. There will be no need to marshal all the discovery and return it to the prosecution. There will be no need to bring up to speed new staff members, investigators, and possibly a new set of experts to address the many complicated issues that have already been addressed by the defense. A new defense team would likely result in a shifting of the strategy and approach of Allen's current defense team, which in turn would further delay and compromise Richard Allen's defense. He's essentially saying here, like, we already have a defense strategy. We're already ready to go. We know our defense strategy is going to work. And we don't need somebody else coming in and making it into something else, changing it. Finally, any successor lawyer would have the convenience of working with attorney Rozzi to become familiar with the subject matter in a much more efficient and fiscally responsible way. That also would cost the state less money, because now you already have somebody who is familiar with it, who can walk somebody through it, instead of two new people having to do all the work all over again. And they're public defenders, so the state has to pay for them. So yeah, fiscally responsible. All these truths weigh in favor of Richard Allen's choice. And that's going to be the key factor here, in my opinion. It's Richard Allen's choice to keep Rozzi as his counsel of record. Hi, Sleepy. Hey, Steve. Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that there's always been some sense of corruption and weirdness, but I think that for me personally, I felt when they were bringing on a judge from somewhere else that there was at least going to be some oversight. And now, no, they haven't, Lynn. They have not been removed. No, they haven't. I told you guys that was going to happen. Lynn, no, they haven't. What she did was she filed a motion, or she put in that they were removed, and she accepted their removal as of October 19th. Here's the thing. Rozzi never withdrew. He never withdrew. And she has it on court record and in the public with all of the media, because she went in front of the court with the cameras and said that he was going to be submitting his in a written motion. He never submitted his in a written motion. So you can't accept something that isn't there. She's even the one who said, I accepted Baldwin's oral withdrawal. Rozzi's going to file something. It doesn't, Lynn, that doesn't matter. That's what you're not getting. It doesn't matter. Check today's doc. Yeah, it's there. It's there because she put it in there from the 19th. The problem is he never withdrew. So she puts it in stating like, oh yeah, he withdrew. So I'm going to go ahead and accept that he's not going to be an attorney of record. And I told you guys at the beginning of this was going to happen because not everybody was here yet. There's a couple reasons it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because, one, he never actually submitted a written motion of withdrawal. Two, hold on. Yeah, I don't see him backing down either. Hi, Claydaho. He never entered it. Nope. Well, he said verbally that he would withdraw. He said verbally he would write a written withdrawal. The other big point is that in his statement of staying on, he specifically is not asking, or in his motion for her recusal, he's not asking her to step down. He's asking for oversight. He's asking for the higher judge to look at it. This is not going to be up to her. Even him leaving isn't going to be up to her. And I also said this at the beginning of this. I am not an attorney. I went to school for criminal justice and forensics. This is my opinion. And my opinion is what she submitted today won't matter because it doesn't actually follow what she said was happening. Right, Jenlu. Hi, Jenlu. Yeah, basically he said, I'm going to speak to the manager and this is how it's going to happen. Doesn't matter that it's 10/26. Doesn't matter. That's my opinion. My opinion is that it doesn't matter. He did not submit it in writing. So she's accepting something that isn't there. And he is requesting, that's another document that came out today. He is requesting for that recording to be given to him. So he can actually go in front of this other judge and say, hey, this is how it went down. You can see it. And my client's Sixth Amendment right is being violated because she's not giving us a choice. And to accuse him of gross negligence, she better have something that shows that Rozzi did it. What does Rozzi have anything to do with the leak? So you can think that it matters. I'm totally fine with that. You guys know I appreciate everybody's opinion. My opinion doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what she put in or when she filed it. Because this is still in. Her putting that in doesn't go, oh, poor Rozzi. Everything he just submitted doesn't even matter anymore. It just doesn't work that way. And Richard Allen's constitutional rights are more important than Rozzi's and more important than Judge Gull's. So I could be wrong, and if I'm wrong, I will come on here and I will say, look at that, you guys, I was wrong. This isn't life or death for me. It's life or death for Richard Allen. So there are no circumstances under Rule 1.16 of the Indiana Rules of Professional Conduct which warrant the withdrawal of Attorney Rozzi's representation of Defendant Allen, which is basically what I was just saying. What did he do that was grossly negligent? What did he do specifically? Nothing. Attorney Rozzi notices up this court of his intention to move forward with the representation of Defendant Allen until a final disposition of this matter. So he's still, and we talked about this too. We talked about this yesterday, because there was a lot of people saying that he went back to prison with no, no attorney on record. But Rozzi was never taken off the record, and that's part of the thing. He was never taken off the record. Now, if here would be a really bad point for Judge Gull, because this was the point I actually gave her in defense of her, was that because he had not submitted his written motion, he was technically still Richard Allen's attorney of record, which in turn, when he got sent back to Westville, meant that he still had a lawyer, essentially. And now, if she says that nope, as of 10/19, you are no longer his lawyer, we sent him back to Westville with no representation. Think that's going to help her cause or hurt it? So, and what is she doing? So what is she doing going in chambers, ruling on all these motions so that she could say, look, all the motions were done before I kicked you guys off the case? I am such a fan. I'm like a fangirl right now of him. And that doesn't have anything to do with Richard Allen. This is like fighting against the power to me, and not backing down to being bullied. And I'm proud of him. Whether I think he's a great guy or not, no matter, like, regardless of anything, he is not being pushed around and saying, I'm just going to lay here and take it. So it will not help her because Ellie can approach RA at any time because he doesn't have an attorney on record. Also a huge issue. Yeah. So wouldn't it be nice of her to go, nope. I sent him back to Westville. No attorney. That's not going to work out in her best interest either. Yes. It's her responsibility to get him a speedy trial and to get this process going and justice for the victims. It is not her responsibility to like the attorneys. They do not have to be friends. She does not have to like them. But she cannot make decisions based on her dislike of the attorneys, and she can't make decisions based on her like of the other attorneys, or decisions based on what she believes the defense is going to put into motion. I mean, shit, look at Letitia Stout. She claimed that she did it by reason of insanity. And I think her attorney sat there knowing that she did it without being insane. But they put in a good fight for her. And obviously the judge knew what they were going to be, doing, and still said, okay, let's go through with it because that's her right. Ah, come on. I know. She was like, somebody better get those motions in right now or you're going to be disqualified. Yeah, fighting against it. He's like, no, He's going to fight back. Yeah, I think so. There's a Frank's motion and motion to let to bail, still waiting for her to rule on them, some from multiple months ago. Isn't there a motion in limine too on the bullet? Is that the one you're talking about? I'm almost positive there's quite a few things that are still open. Who will oversee her? That could be two different things. She could still be the judge. The chances of her being forced out, I think, are on the slimmer side. But, you know, hey, I also didn't think that she was going to go back there and push them out. But, you know, that's apparently what happened. Yeah, and Letitia got a very fair trial. Too fair. C-Dub. Yeah, there's no motion in there whatsoever that he says that he was leaving. So I don't think, yeah, I don't think she's going anywhere either. I think that she thought she could either negate his motion or she was going to try to make it so like, nope. You're already done. And it doesn't matter what you have to say, or it could have just simply been like, this was what was done, you know, in chambers. But once again, she publicly, in front of all of us, said that he was going to submit a written motion for withdrawal. So that kind of works against her. All right, let's take a look at what else we got, because that's not done. So that's just his filing to continue. Here's the verified notice of continuing representation. Like, listen up, people. I wonder if we can, did anybody download or print her submissions as of today and what the filing date, like she had, like, does she have it filed as of the 19th up here in 1960? Hold on, what's going on? I have fighter jets flying over the house in Lawrence all day and flying low and loud. Ooh, hey, true crime for you. Yeah, no, he won't have anything to do with it. There's no way. If they put Judge Diener, no, like Judge Diener too, they have been removed. But they haven't. That's the whole thing, is they haven't. The only one that's gone is Baldwin. She filed it dated 10/19, like signature wise, but I'm wondering what it actually says up here. It's on her docket for today, but what's the filing date up here on the top right corner? Yeah, there's no way that there's not people that are paying attention to this. It's not possible. Especially, I mean, we know that there was already like law enforcement that was paying attention to, like, hey, there's something off here, and submitting certified documents, you know, to to ISP and saying like, hey, like, we don't believe that you guys have the right guy. You don't think those guys are still fighting behind the scenes? Then why would they even bother to write the certified letter to Nick McClelland? Do you know what I mean? Like, I think that there's other people that are behind still looking into what's really going on, or kind of just keeping an eye on the situation. It's definitely not just us. What's up? What's up, the proof? No, I'm just saying, like, could you imagine if they actually did? I can't even tell you anymore. I am so confused by that whole thing. She can try. She can try to remove him, just like she was going to do if he didn't withdraw. She can try, but he can also fight it, which in my opinion is exactly what he's doing. Okay, so Judge Hawkins is the Carroll Superior Judge. I don't know. I haven't even looked into it. So it wouldn't matter whether they were pro bono or not, because a judge can ultimately, and I'd have to pull up the actual rules on it, but if there is some type of gross negligence, or maybe I should just look it up so I can read it to you guys verbatim, but the judge does have a right to remove any counsel for a very specific set of reasons. Now, my issue with that is I don't know how she would be able to prove that Rozzi had those specific issues. That doesn't always matter. Sometimes it does, but it doesn't always. We've got some really good judges that used to be prosecutors, and I think they're very fair. He does. He has a right to choose his defense, but if they go against the court decorum, essentially, and that's why I said, like, she could remove private counsel too if they break the rules of the courtroom. But Rozzi doesn't do that. That's what I'm saying. I even understand that the extreme, okay, Baldwin's got to go, even though it wasn't him, it's his responsibility kind of thing. But it doesn't make sense to me that how is she going to, she can't put any of that on him. I agree. Yeah, so let's get to that. Great point, the Rockaways. Let's just read it so we can see. For anybody who hasn't actually seen it yet. Which one's this one? That's the continuance. All right. Right. Yes. It doesn't, that's why I'm trying to say, it doesn't matter what she put in there today. It won't matter. The only one that is basically set at this point is going to be Baldwin. But that doesn't mean that Baldwin's not going to help Rozzi. I mean, let's be real. She can remove counsel, but she needs to have a really, really good ironclad reason to do so, that it doesn't come back on appeal. The defendant's right to counsel outweighs almost everything. Exactly. And that's why I hate saying that, like, repetitively, because I understand, like, the most important people in this case are truly not being talked about anymore, and it is Libby and Abby, and it becomes about all the mumbo jumbo of the court stuff. But you can't. Richard Allen is the most important entity right now. His constitutional rights are the most important entity right now, and you cannot deny him those rights and then think that you're going to end up with any type of fair trial. If the Odinists were Satanists or KKK, people wouldn't have difficulty understanding the concept of a group doing a killing like this. I think for me personally, if it was a group that had anything to do with something like that, I do believe it was an amateur group. It was a wannabe group. It wasn't like a truly like cult. I don't like, it wasn't, they hadn't formed all of that. They were kind of like, look at us, we're gonna play Acid True today. Yeah, and I think that's going to be part of the issue that Judge Gull wants him gone, is because she doesn't want Baldwin around at all either. But she hasn't liked them. We talked about this on a live a few times ago. Since they put that motion out, the statement out when they very first took over the case, she's not liked them since. She did not like that they did that, even though it's just a blanket statement of saying, hey, we believe our guy's innocent. She was like, mm-mm. Yeah, like a bunch of little probates. Okay, so here's the motion to disqualify, and this one's like, somebody said, like, can you imagine like Judge Gull's face when she saw this come through? She was probably like, "Give me my computer! I'm submitting all of this right now." But I love everybody was like, she would be like totally professional, and she had them back there in chambers, and she would have just been like, hey, we were kind of stuck in this really bad place and we don't really know what to do. and you know, you guys are going to have to make a tough choice. And Baldwin, I don't know what to tell you, guy, but you know, you got to go. And Baldwin's like, I know, I really screwed up. I'm just going to go. And then Rosie's like, yeah, you know, I think I should just go too. Like, people are like, yeah, they were somewhere back there, like was all calm. And here I am, I'm like, I feel like they were like knocked down, drag out fighting. Not like physically, but I just can't imagine that. And he says, we went in there and I was like, we were ambushed. Like, this is bullshit. Well, that could very well be true, but they can't do anything until this is addressed. I don't, Lynn, you know that this is like legitimate. Like, these are all actual court filings. You know, like they can't just ignore them and be like, oh, Judge Gull said so, so here we go. Like, that's just not how it works. And not to say that hers don't matter. The whole thing matters. All of it matters, but it all matters together. It has to be addressed. You can't just leave things like up in the docket and just like, oh, well, sorry, too bad, guy. You don't count anymore. It just doesn't work that way. Everything has to have a follow through. So regardless of what happens, it hasn't though. I'm not even gonna do it, because like you're stuck on that opinion, and I totally understand it, but he didn't file a written motion to have himself removed. So he now motions to have her disqualified, which I do not think that he will get, but I think that it's a freaking ballsy ass move. Comes now the accused by counsel and pursuant to 2.11 of the Indiana Code of Judicial Conduct and Rules 12B and D of the Indiana Rules of Criminal Procedures, respectfully, and moves for recusal of and change of judge from Judge Francis C. Gull. C. Gull. Rule 2.11 of the Indiana Code of Judicial Conduct requires a judge to disqualify himself or herself when the judge's impartiality might reasonably be questioned. Reasonably be questioned. Reasonably. Not without any doubt. Such is the case in this cause of action for the reasons described below. The comments to Rule 2.11 provide additional guidance. Under this rule, a judge is disqualified whenever the judge's impartiality might reasonably be questioned, regardless of whether any of the specific provisions of paragraphs A1 through 6 apply. In many jurisdictions, the term recusal is used interchangeably with the term disqualification. A judge's obligation not to hear or decide matters in which disqualification is required applies regardless of whether a motion to disqualify is filed. A judge should disclose on the record information that the judge believes the parties or their lawyers might reasonably consider relevant to a possible motion for disqualification, even if the judge believes there is no basis for disqualification. Judge Gull has removed and concealed or allowed to be removed by the clerk of Carroll County defense pleadings from the chronological case summary in violation of the Indiana Supreme Court's administrative rules. Those pleadings include the Franks motion that was filed on 9/18, the Franks memorandum that was filed on 9/18, 3 affidavits from Sergeant Jones, Sergeant Robinson, and the warden filed on 10/10, and the affidavit of the leaker, Mitch Westerman. Did anybody grab that before it was sealed? Because I did not see that at all. I don't know if anybody was quick enough to grab that one. Hold on. Hold on real quick, you guys. Sorry. Sorry, I had a kid that needed me. Okay. Where was I at? Oh, yeah. That there's actually an affidavit by Mitch. Jiu-jitsu. I've not seen. Yeah. Don't know. I would love to get my hands on that. What do you think that he would have had to say? So essentially, most of the stuff we actually have. So she sealed it after the fact. They filed it openly, probably just like they did this one because they want the public to see it. And now there's an affidavit of Mitch Westerman that's got to be floating around out there somewhere. And Judge Gull has not removed or hidden any of the state's filings. So in essence, all the narrative for like the PCA, the search warrant, which remember, she actually like let us have access to like an entire file of state files, of state filings in like, what was it, like June or July of this year. So she's not sealing any of their narrative, but has essentially sealed any of the narrative that the defense wants out there. Maybe she's an Odinist. So you've seen the Ruckus and Holly No podcast. I'm just now waking up. If YouTubers have the time to dissect the memorandum, the judge damn sure had enough time. Oh, yeah. Well, it took me like 6 parts, and one of them was like 4 hours long, and I think the other one's like 3. It took me a long time to go through it piece by piece. She was like, I'm a practicing Odinist, and you guys can't be talking about us like that. I don't think she is. I have no clue. Why is she? It's like, why is she putting her career on the line just because of the fact that she doesn't like these guys? Hey, we don't be mean. You can have your opinion, but you don't talk shit to other people or about other people. Okay, where were we at? Oh, the leaker. Leaker Mitch Westerman. Somebody needs to get their hands on that, please. Indiana access to court records. Rule 2A provides in pertinent part, all persons have access to court records as provided in this rule, and that certain persons have greater access to court records. The commentary to ACR Rule 2A is that all persons, including members of the general public, the media, and commercial and non-commercial entities, are entitled to the same basic level of access to court records. And ACR Rule 4 provides that a court record is accessible to the public except as provided in Rule 5. ACR Rule 5A provides that certain entire cases shall be excluded from public access without notice of exclusion, but this entire case, quote unquote, has not been declared confidential by statute or rule, and meets none of the other criteria laid out in ACR Rule 5A. Essentially, you can't just hide our shit and leave their shit out. It doesn't work that way. ACR Rule 5B provides the process for excluding individual case records. However, none of the 13 listed grounds for excluding public access to the records secreted from the docket in this case apply to the above referenced documents, which have either disappeared from the CSCS or are inaccessible to the public. Nor were the documents filed using the procedures required by ACR Rule 5B, i.e. filing on green paper or filing electronically as a confidential document, along with an ACR form identifying the specific grounds upon which exclusion is based. By secreting pleadings from the docket without following the access to court records rules, Judge Gull has, or I'm assuming it's supposed to be had or has allowed violations of public access. Look at him. He's out here fighting the good fight for us. He's like, no, public deserves to see this stuff because those acts have only shielded documents from the defendant. These actions clearly demonstrate a lack of impartiality and fairness in violation of Judicial Rule 1.1, compliance with the law, and Rule 2.2, impartiality and fairness. Number 5, on October 12th, 2023, Judge Gull instructed appointed counsel to cease working on Mr. Allen's case, which interfered with the attorney-client relationship and prejudiced the accused by denying him the timely, effective representation guaranteed him by the state and federal constitutions. Well, Humano, yeah, don't go too far, because you never know, because she's basically, Judge Gull is essentially filing now saying, nope, you were already done on the 19th. You can't stay. So it's gonna be a battle to see if they both stay. Does one stay? Does she actually just say, nope, sorry, you're gone, and nobody else gives a shit, which I can't imagine happening. If it did, then I would just be like, okay, this whole state's corrupt at this point. That's exactly, Teresa. Why even have him removed? Why even care if he stays? Yeah, they like the Halloween court day. No, ain't no spring chicken. Hi, Shelly. Oh, maybe. Wolfie wisdom. She's an elected official. Bad enough. Judge has to be removed because her actions will cause a future mistrial. It very well could. Or it's going to set this entire thing up for an appeal. Yeah, that's a great point, Tracy Day. That's a great point. He feared for his family's safety, but we don't know why, and we don't know who it was from. Who was he in fear of? And now we have a judge that's ruling one-sided. I mean, I can see the conspiracy in that right there. That's a good point. There are very practical repercussions for a judge or a prosecutor who violates conduct or ethical guidelines. They are rarely charged and almost never sanctioned. Blue wall of silence. Yeah, absolutely. I know she is. She's supposed to be a Supreme Court judge, and I'm like, what? And there was a lot of people who were like, no, she's not gonna, there's no way she would jeopardize that. And it's like, is she jeopardizing that though? Because if there's like, where does the level of corruption go to? Where does it stop? Who is involved? We don't know that. We don't know all of that. At this point, I do too. I think that we need a better judge. I just think it needs to be completely taken over. The entire thing needs to be taken over. And I was saying this just even about the investigators. You know, it's ironic to me that the law passed in Indiana, and one of the first states that it ever passed in, where the family could actually take a case that was quote unquote cold, or not even cold, but they could have any agency they chose investigate it. They could have moved, like Abby and Libby's families could have moved this investigation away from Carroll County and ISP and given it to the FBI. And then all of a sudden we have an arrest. And there's an election. There's just so much timing that it makes it so you can't trust any of it. Curiouser and curiouser. Hey, Jeff. Wait, I don't follow this case like some of you do. I was under the impression that they had both asked it to be dismissed, so that is not the case. Well, so according to the filings today, essentially, in short words, Attorney Baldwin orally argued to be withdrawn from the case. Judge Gull accepted it. That one's pretty much finalized. What now Rozzi is saying is that he was coerced, that he didn't do anything wrong, and she essentially told him, you either leave or I'm going to go out there and embarrass you in front of everybody. So he's saying, no, I don't want to leave. Richard Allen, my client, doesn't want me to leave. And during court on Thursday, she said that Rozzi was supposed to submit a written motion for withdrawal, which essentially her filings today are showing that she accepted, except for he never created a motion to withdraw. So how do you accept something that never actually happened? Oh yeah, Shakespeare would have loved this. No wonder Hannah Shakespeare was so involved. Because he didn't want to go out there and be shamed. So that's you said this a couple times now, and it's actually really interesting because there is a guy, and I mentioned this on another live stream too. a guy named Robert, and obviously there's a ton of Roberts in the world, so it could have been any one of them, but he was commenting under another creator's video about how he had seen the crime scene photos. He had access to all of this stuff, and this was before the leak was out, and that he couldn't share the information, and he was tired of being threatened. They made that comment on YouTube, and I can't prove that it's the same Robert, but I've never seen that Robert comment again. I'm like, my conspiracy hat being on makes me go, what? Who is there a way to figure out who owns a YouTube name, or like if that person's ever commented again on YouTube? Because that Robert is saying he had access to all the crime scene stuff, and he is afraid. Right? And Kaleidohope, I agree with you here. And the fact that they would even argue, the prosecutor or the investigators, why do they care if he stays there? So if the defense submits the motion for him to be moved, they have all the preparations in place for him to have a place to go, the security required, so on and so forth. Why would anybody fight that? Why do they care? What is in it for them? If he's not moved, or if he is moved, why does it hurt them? That's why I'm saying you cannot care. There's no reason for them to care. Yeah, it sure does. She tried to. Yeah, she was like, nope, I don't like your guys' defense strategy. You gotta go. How do you know he didn't? How do I know he didn't what? How do I know that he didn't submit anything in writing? Because as we know from the defense, they put everything out publicly. They don't file anything under seal. She has to go back and seal it. And he also doesn't state that he did. He talks about the fact that in that room, he said what he had to say to get out of there, but that he did not plan on leaving. He probably should. He probably needs an attorney. He probably doesn't, because I don't think he did anything wrong, but commenters. I know, but Jeremiah, is there a way for us to be able to tell? Maybe I should just turn it in as a tip. Yeah, that case is crazy. It gets weirder by the day. I know. I wasn't even going to do a live on Delphi today, and here I am. Hold on. Peasy. Appearance filed. Limited appearance of attorney for mystery sheet? Oh, that's from 6/8/23. Motion for public access to court records filed by mystery sheet from 6/8. JB, no way. I know that's another hearing that was going on today. They had 2 hearings today in Idaho, and I haven't even been able to keep up with it. Yeah, you're preaching to the choir, because that's where I'm at. And every time I try to disprove myself with it and go back to no, this is just what it is, I go, something like this happens, and I'm like, yeah, bullshit. No, the whole thing's orchestrated. Yep. Wolf said, I love that Rozzi is fighting for his client. It's about time we see a public defender with heart and soul, not to mention a fantastic grasp of the law. He's not backing down, and I mean, shit, I appreciate that. Because Rozzi didn't request to get back on, he filed a motion giving her notice that he is not leaving. Yeah, so he was never gone. Yes, like, sorry, Gull, you're not going to get your way. Yeah, they had Judge Diener listed, and they had to fix that. I think so too. The timing of it, anyway. So even if, like, say this guy Mitch, whomever, had access to some of this stuff from whenever, the push out to the public was on purpose. Okay, where were we at? I'm going to judge instructed appointed counsel to cease work, interfered. Okay, October 19, 2023, Judge Gull conducted a critical stage proceedings in chambers outside the presence of the accused, even though she had ordered him transported and he was available. She then did the same after placing his attorneys in an ethical dilemma and again creating a public record outside of the presence of the accused. This ignored clear precedent. I should state which precedent, but on October 19, 2023, Judge Gull ambushed appointed counsel with a planned Hobson's choice designed to coerce withdrawals. The choice presented was to suffer a public shaming and be removed from the case, or to voluntarily withdraw, despite defense counsel requesting clarification as to the topics and or motions to be addressed at the October 19th, 2023 hearing. She gave defense counsel no notice of her plan to force withdrawals or remove them, thus denying counsel the opportunity to adequately refute her accusations. And this comes to the whole thing. How did McClellan know to have all of these cops sitting there to like essentially show like some unity of force or whatever to bully them into like, no, you're going to get publicly shamed, and you're going to get publicly shamed in front of all these people? Hold on. I didn't go public for clicks. I did it because someone contacted me and said they knew I had them. I'm glad that you went and you did what you did. I'm glad that you put the information out the way that you put it out. For people like me, I appreciated it. I appreciated being able to see what you were seeing like in your drawings. Even if you're not the best artist, I appreciated being able to see it. And I know that you get a lot of shit for that, and I know that like all the people who've done it get a lot of shit for it. But for people, especially because people didn't want the photos floating around, but yet everybody wanted to understand what was being seen, it was the most ethical way, in my opinion, to do it. Frankly, if a judge thinks a person is getting ridiculous counsel, you'd want them to have proper representation. They named people, probably sparking lawsuits, so I can see her point. I could see her point on saying that she wanted it sealed and on sealing it. I just don't know. And even giving them like the, this should have been filed under seal, but I don't, gross negligence though, I just don't see. I don't see gross negligence. Wasn't it the murder sheet that told the prosecutors? Well, I don't know why. I will not understand at all why the people investigating the leak are the very people that are being called out for being unethical and immoral. Right? I mean, at this point, like, that's really what it needs to be. Yeah, I think that there's a big thing when it's going to come to the whole part of the leaking. For me, it's the 3 steps. There's got to be the 3 steps of from Mitch to Mark is really essentially, is there anything from in that perspective? Once they're out further, I don't really know that there's a lot of control. But there's the unethical behavior of Mitch if he goes in there and takes the photos and sends them to Robert, and then Robert sending them to Mark and apparently to some lady, which I don't even know which lady, which is also interesting because they do say that he sent it to 2 people. He sent it to Mark and to a lady. So now if there is anything behind, which I don't know that there is, but it's very interesting timing behind that GoFundMe. The timing of the GoFundMe, this is why I think it should still be investigated at least until there. And then if there's anything from the GoFundMe that points to another outlier, then maybe to there. But if there's any financial gain throughout those parties for selling these photos, then I think you have a different legal issue. But that's my thought. Okay. Where were we at? Oh, so yeah, so she tells them they can't work on the case, yet tells them they have to be there for a hearing on the 19th. They have 7 days where they can't even prepare for a hearing. They ask her, hey, what is going on? Why are we even having a hearing? And she just says, show up early and I'll tell you about it. And that's it. Hold on, guys. Now, Alicat, I agree with that. Isn't that interesting? And here's the other part. Mark is also a part of a lot of the little leaks that went on, and then tying it all together. That's it. From an outsider, it doesn't look good. It does not look good, and I think that I'd be very, very careful trusting any of that information that comes from him. Hold on. That's not true. The judge told them ahead of time. What do you mean? Hold on. I think I missed it. The judge told them ahead of time what was going to happen. Thank you. So you're saying that he's lying on here? MS knew? I guess I'm confused. Maybe I should stay out of it. Maybe you guys are talking to each other and I don't have a clue what's going on. Yeah, please don't fight with each other. But yeah, I just, like I said, I always tell you guys too, like, I'm okay. There's different opinions. This, this case is been going on a long time, and everybody's kind of come to their conclusions on where they stand. I don't dislike anybody involved in this case. I don't have any enemies when it comes to like Delphi. I don't know all these people personally. I really do. I like kindness. I want you guys to try to be kind to each other, at least while you're here. And if you can't, just ignore each other at least. So I think we all had an idea because of the recent things that had arisen comment. And I also think they knew what was coming, but they didn't know they were going to be given an ultimatum. I think they knew they were going to it was going to be a topic of conversation, but I don't think that it was. I don't think they knew that they were supposed to be bringing witnesses and everything else with them. I don't think so. I don't think they knew that there was going to be a jury box full of law enforcement that had no need to be there. Anyway, so Ambush appointed counsel with a planned Hobson's choice designed to coerce withdrawals. The choice presented was to suffer a public shaming and be removed from the case, or to voluntarily withdraw. Despite defense counsel requesting clarification as to the topics and motions to be addressed at the October 19, 2023 hearing, she gave defense counsel no notice of her plan to force withdrawals or remove them, thus denying counsel the opportunity to adequately refute her accusations. I think it clearly is stating here they did not know they were going to be given an ultimatum. They obviously knew it was going to be a topic of conversation. That's how he'd already hired an attorney before it happened. But I don't think that they knew they were going to be given an ultimatum or that they were going to be shamed in a courtroom. The same day, Judge Gull had prepared a statement that she threatened to read to the public, alleging defense counsel was grossly negligent in their representation of defendant Allen. Judge Gull's complaint was more about not having control over counsel rather than any legitimate concerns that counsel had engaged in conduct that compromised Richard Allen's defense. A general summary of Judge Gull's complaints are as follows. A judge shall comply with the law, including the Code of Judicial Conduct. A judge shall uphold and apply the law and shall perform all duties of judicial office fairly and impartially. A press release, generic in substance, was issued by the defense in November 2022 before the court's gag order and only after repeated press conferences by the prosecution. Allen's response, the intent was only to level the playing field. This was well within the obligations of defense counsel by established guidelines. She never expressed any concerns over the multiple press conferences by the prosecution. They had every legal right to go ahead and put that out there, to put out the statement they put out in November. There was nothing legally stopping them from doing so. 2 motions filed by the defense, one of which addressed the health and safety of defendant Allen, and the second of which addressed the immediate transfer of the accused due to the not so coincidental and undisputed facts that individuals engaging in Norse paganistic practices may have not only murdered 2 girls, but that they were also escorting defendant Allen around the prison at the same time his health was in rapid decline. I don't think anybody can deny that all of that is accurate. And it's putting, what they're taking is all those different pieces of fact and putting them together into their narrative, which is exactly what happens on both sides. That they're telling us a story. You don't think that it was a secret that they were going to be told to withdraw or be shamed? I think that was a secret. Why am I not blue? I can make you blue. I can't do it from here, though. Marshall says, yes, I totally agree. Her demeanor was not in line with surprise and annoyance she showed. Acted like she was shocked. And why? Remember when we watched it, Marshall? She actually chuckled. She had a little chuckle when she was like, no. Yeah, no more slash jags. I don't want to fight with anybody. I think she seemed really pissed off. She did. She seemed pissed off. She seemed like she was pissed. But I think she tried to portray like she was mad that she couldn't believe they did this, that they would withdraw the way they did. But I think she was just pissed because I think she was pissed going into the whole thing. Yeah. Surely if it was him, he would have a crazy internet search history. He's going to have something. And there's rumors that there is something, but I don't know what. Because if, according to the depositions, we're hearing the many pieces of, they're saying there really isn't anything else. But that doesn't mean that there isn't. That's just the cherry-picked version that the defense gave us. Robert, somebody just said that the other day. That's so funny. I said, I'm definitely not related to her, but we both love purple. Yeah, absolutely. And you know how many comments I get on videos that just say, like, I'm from Indiana, and yes, this is happening. And I'm just like, well, apparently it's happening all over the place. Did you guys know? Oh, it's just so silly. So I was like, I'm going to look up, like, how many, famous people are Odinists or practice Norse paganism. You guys should Google that sometime. It's quite interesting. I was like, well then, I guess this isn't that surprising. Okay. Dun dun dun. What should address the health and safety? Okay. Yeah. So she basically said, no, 2 motions filed by the defense, one of which was about the health and safety of him. Yeah, nope, we're not moving him. The court had previously ordered the accused transferred to a state prison at the request of the Carroll County Sheriff. His mental and physical health began an immediate decline. Prison guards in his area had Odinist emblems on their uniforms, which endangered their client after the Odinist connection was exposed. The defense had video of the patches, and the guards admitted they were warned. The defense had previously noted a connection between the murders and Odinism. The patches have since been removed. Mr. Rozzi cited instances of abuse. Those filings were within the obligation established guidelines imposed for effective representation. Mr. Baldwin had drafted an email to co-counsel, but sent it to the wrong person due to self-populating in electronic mail. We talked about this. We talked about this is that index where he was supposedly typed in, he was going to type in Brad, but he typed in Brandon or got Brandon instead. And then that index came out, which we have bits and pieces of. I still haven't found the whole thing. Mr. Baldwin had drafted Allen's response. This was an accident that happens routinely to most people. The intended recipient, attorney Bradley Rozzi, and the unintended recipient share the same first three letters of their first names. The email attachment contained no substantive information, just a bare bones outline of a tiny portion of the discovery received by the defense in this case. And you got to think it was back in April, so there's still more now. The court alleged that Mr. Baldwin put improper statements in his Frank's memorandum. No false or misleading statements, just improper in her opinion. Not false or misleading, just improper. The response: the court had disdain for the defense for not filing it under seal, even though there was no order to do so. That memorandum was demanded by the prosecution before there could be a Frank's hearing. It is an impressive piece of legal writing, I don't know about that, and has been lauded by expert defense counsel across the nation. It again was required by applicable guidelines. And we mentioned this the other day too. The whole thing with the Frank's memorandum is they are the ones who wanted it. The hearing in June was supposed to be a due process and suppression hearing. And when they got there, the judge said, no, we're not doing the suppression hearing. You guys need to essentially come up with a Frank's motion and submit it. And so they did. And they didn't do it under seal, which she did not tell them to do it under seal. They did it, and now here we are. So they doesn't like what was said in there. I think that there definitely could have been some retractions done, but that's once again not illegal. That Mr. Rozzi had filed a tort claim notice to preserve the rights of his client. The court opined that this action amounted to gross negligence. That Mr. Rozzi had filed a tort claim notice to preserve the rights of his client. The court opined that this action amounted to gross negligence. The filing of the notice was intended to preserve the rights of a man who was shuttled off to one of the most secure detention units in the state, locked up and isolated with only a tablet, which was often dysfunctional, to communicate with the outside world. Alan had no ability to speak with his wife in private, as his phone calls were all being recorded. Yep. And Alan's own attorneys were required to make advanced reservations to visit him at the prison. It is entirely impractical that Alan would have had the means to prepare his own tort claim notice and or secure private counsel to do so. I don't remember reading that, so I don't know. I don't really have a lot of comment on it because I don't remember reading a tort claim that was filed. Mr. Baldwin had hired a lawyer to represent him in this matter. This was not true. Mr. Baldwin was betrayed by a friend, and there was a subsequent related suicide. As a friend and colleague, David R. Hennessy suggested he needed a lawyer to speak on his behalf, and he volunteered. No fee was arranged between the two. The court also alleged undersigned had put volatile facts in the memorandum regarding possible sanctions or disqualification. The true facts in a criminal case are often volatile. There was no untruth. The court alleged that undersigned had put volatile facts in the memorandum regarding sanctions or disqualification. The court alleged that undersigned had put volatile facts in the memorandum regarding possible sanctions or disqualification. Against who? The true facts in a criminal case are often volatile. There was no untruth. All right, let me see what you guys got. What you guys are saying in here. Hey, Journey takes a trip. No, she was not surprised. Outlook autofills every day. You got to work so hard to ensure you don't send it to the wrong right. Judge accusing lawyers of misconduct with no proof. She is the investigator, jury, prosecution, and judge. Yeah, well, she can't be. That's part of the issue here. Is she's supposed to be unbiased and not looking at it from one side of the coin or the other. Was in the Finnish parliament representing the True Finns party. Yep. Well, they say there is hair, there is fibers, there is DNA, there is fingerprints. The quality of any of that, I cannot answer. Yes, court is still scheduled for 10/31 as of right now. Yeah, and it's not her determination to say that she doesn't think that they should be his counsel anymore. If they haven't actually committed gross negligence. I just don't know what she's claiming that Rozzi did. Yeah. All right, let's see what you guys have down here. Setup. It was posted on Twitter for all to see. I don't know what you're referring to. I think she's referring to the leak that JG was planning to fire defense. Oh. Yeah, what does that tell you? What does it tell you that Murder Sheet is out there saying, nope, they're going to be removed? What does that tell you guys? When all the attorneys that were talking about it all said no, they probably would not be. Yep, K-Bird, that's pretty much what he's saying. Absolutely, she has. Wait, what? Is that true? Yeah, true crime crazy. You and me both. All because they just can't just play fair, play legally. Apparently, he's saying that they never actually hired anybody. His friend, his colleague, said, "Now we should probably just be there just in case. Like, I should come with you." Yeah, I appreciate seeing the sticks. I don't know about the realistic ones. I think that's a little bit closer to the actual pics to me, but you know, I think the basic stick figure-ish with here's where the sticks actually are kind of thing was helpful for me, and I know people that are like me. In a recent case, this judge grabbed and destroyed in front of the jury and media this reporter's phone. Bad judgment and temperament. Yes, and did you hear that she told them, if your phone goes off, yeah, if I hear your phone, I will break it. Hennessy was there at the courthouse. He was sitting outside, supposedly. He was sitting out in the like outside the judge's chambers. He never went in. Yeah, she's trying to regulate. Baldwin described it in an emotion that clearly would be published, and he embellished to suit his runes theory. But is that gross negligence, Humanimal? I think that's where I'm at. Like, I understand that she didn't want that public and that they wanted it, that she preferred it being filed under seal when she's the one who asked them for the Franks hearing or to file a Franks motion. They file it. She doesn't tell them to file it under seal, so they don't, because there's no court order telling them they have to. So I think my issue is I get like that there was parts of that memorandum and I was like, I don't know if that was really even necessary to be put in here, but was it gross negligence to do it? So, I mean, if that is their defense theory, let's just say that that is what they're going to go to court and that's what they're using, because they don't have to, but we're going to say that they are. They go to court and they are using the Odenism, that the Odenites did it, that there's the Rushville 3 that were involved, so on and so forth. It all comes out to the public anyway, because court is it's going to be public record one way or the other. They're not going to fight the trial in her chambers. Well, I don't know, shit, she might try, but it's going to be out there. So what in that is gross negligence, and how does it hurt their client by putting it out there? How does it change the outcome of the trial if that is their defense strategy? Does that make sense? So I don't know. I don't understand like what the gross negligence is. I get, as much as I don't necessarily agree, I do understand that Baldwin, with his loosey-goosey ways, had Mitch just hanging around, if that's how it even went down, because I'd still love to see that. But if Mitch does a affidavit that he did do it, and that's what the Hennessy is saying that happened, I'm inclined to believe that's somewhat probably what happened. I could see that being gross negligence to not take care of your evidence properly. And if that happens, God only knows who else has it. But then still, it doesn't really go with the memorandum. And I don't know. That's where I'm at. I don't see it being gross negligence on Rozzi's part at all. Hi, hybrid Pisces. Didn't Baldwin's attorney file a motion fighting for him to stay on the case before this hearing in the chambers took place? I believe so. Yes, Justin. I believe that was part of it for Baldwin. And I think I'd have to pull it back up, but I think it says like a potential, like potentially this could happen, because they did know it was a potential for Baldwin for that to happen. I don't know if it necessarily was the Odenites, but I do believe that there's something to the whole thing. And I don't think it's like, okay, like I said, I don't think there's this cult of people who are like, we're Odenites and here, we're going to go sacrifice 2 young girls. I don't know if I buy that entire narrative that was put in there. But so she can turn a blind eye to the state's lies, changing witness statements and reversing your own expert professor's testimonies. That's gross. That's kind of where I'm at. So is it not gross negligence that the investigators lost a professor, lost a witness, lost the witness's entire statement? Not the first statement they've lost. They lost Richard Allen's statement. There's just so much to it. And if you're going to go the route that this judge is like, nope, these people are terrible, then how is it not the same on the other side? And I think that's what he's saying here, is if all of my documents need to be sealed, then how come theirs don't? If we're trying to not let anybody know any narrative in the public, why are only our side being sealed? Why not just seal everything then? It's such a mess. Okay, so essentially we're finding out that he didn't actually hire him, and I probably said that, so I need to correct it, that he did not hire him. The dissemination leak of crime scene photographs in which neither Attorney Rozzi or Attorney Baldwin had knowledge of nor participated in. Allen's response is, see the affidavit of Mitch Westerman previously filed. Too bad that's not in here. Too bad they didn't copy and paste that here, where which Mitch Westerman states ... But Mitch must go in and just admit it. So guideline 1.1 of the Indiana Public Defender's Council Performance Guidelines for Criminal Defense Representation states the paramount obligation of criminal defense counsel is to provide zealous and quality representation to their clients at all stages of the criminal process. Similar obligations are recognized by the American Bar Association, the National Legal Aid and Defender Association, the National Advisory Commission on Criminal Justice Standards and Goals and Rules, 1.1 IRPC. Everything cited by Judge Gull as concerning was either not attributable to attorney Rozzi or excellent and ethical lawyering in the best interest of the client's defense and mental and physical well-being. Essentially, that's what I said. So this is number 10. That's exactly how I feel. Throughout the pendency of this proceeding, the defense has exposed untruths by law enforcement, withholding of exculpatory evidence by the prosecution, and discovery violations about which Judge Gull showed no concern and did nothing. And none of the motions that she even took up right before this did she do anything about any of that. The court has routinely expressed umbrage at defense counsel's representations through investigations and filings, while silently abiding the prosecution's discovery delays and false statements by them or their agents. On October 19, 2023, Judge Gull coerced an oral request to withdraw from attorney Rozzi that did not comply with Rule 3.8H, Indiana Rules of Trial Procedure, and further coerced an oral request from attorney Baldwin to withdraw as co-counsel in this cause. Judge Gull has exhibited a lack of concern about and taken no action to protect the physical and mental health of the accused. Throughout these proceedings, Judge Gull has exhibited a bias and prejudice against the accused and his attorneys and in favor of the prosecution. Counsel for the defendant are appointed pauper counsel, and upon appointed judicial control and oversight of the appointed counsel is inappropriate. Hold on. Counsel for the defendant are appointed pauper counsel, and upon appointment, judicial control and oversight of the appointed counsel is inappropriate. Because they're technically being paid by the state. It's that she doesn't need to be giving them any over. I don't know. I have to look at that. The court cannot and should not dictate the process of representation or improvidently curtail the representation of counsel. It has done so without notice to the defendant or his counsel, affording them an opportunity to be heard. It has also done so of its own accord without any precipitating motion or request. No due process has been afforded. Sorry, guys, give me just a second. Okay, sorry. Oh, thank you, Marshall. I appreciate that. Thank you. This is bad. The more you read. I think so. If they had all this evidence and if he was so damn guilty, then the state shouldn't have to lie, hide, seal, and conceal anything. Right. It should be fairly simple. It should be a very, very simple going forward. Go ahead, defense attorneys, come to court with your stupid Odinite theory. Ha ha ha. You're gonna be laughed out of court. The jury's gonna think you guys are crazy because we have all of this proof that your guy is the guy. They sure will. I know. I'm like, okay, break that down for me. Mark in Indy, I would take issue if a judge removed counsel that the defendant wanted to maintain. Allen was not even afforded the opportunity to participate in his defense. Nope. He's not afforded to even be able to tell the judge at this point that's who he wants. We're just gonna completely destroy this man's constitutional rights in every way we can, and then that's why I don't want to get into the fight of it, because this is where I get frustrated. I don't care if this man is guilty or innocent. Like, people will always end up going like, oh my gosh, you love Richard Allen, you're a Richard Allen fan, why don't you marry him? And I get all kinds of stupid comments like that. And it's like, I don't care if he's guilty or innocent. I care about the constitutional rights that we fought for. our ancestors fought for us to have, and that they're just like a joke at this point for this guy. Just imagine that you think he's innocent. If you don't think he's innocent, just imagine you think he's innocent. And imagine how bad this is. Imagine this is your mom, this is your dad, this is your brother, this is your sister. Imagine this is you, and you didn't do anything wrong besides go for a hike, and somebody tells you that, oh, you were there, mere presence, that's how it is, you're done. I just can't. And like I said, every single time that I try to go, okay, this is everything, I'm reading too far into it, take off the tinfoil, go back to normal, just look at this like it should be looked at. And then I go, wait a minute, like, this doesn't make any sense. Why is she pushing these people out? And you guys can go back and listen to my live. I literally said, these are just crime scene photos, egregious to the families. And I know that they don't want them out there, and I get that. But for a criminal murder trial, they're nothing. It's just part of it. So this huge leak that pushes everybody, to this point, it just doesn't make any sense. Why isn't there any hearings? Why isn't there something going on in chambers like McClelland? Where the hell are these 7 interviews that you did back in 2017 and 2018 that you can't seem to find? How do you keep losing all your evidence? You lost the tips. You guys lost the tips originally. You've lost the professor. You can't find the recording from Dan Doolin of when he recorded the conversation with Richard Allen. You guys keep losing stuff. How are you losing stuff? Deets, I miss you. Where did you go? I just saw you. I hope that you're doing well, Deets. I saw you pop up in here. Now I can't find you. There you are. I miss you. I hope you're okay. I hope you're doing very, very well. So that's where I stand with it. I just can't imagine. I can't imagine if this was my son. Oh shit. And then you have to also think on the other side of it. If this isn't the guy, if he's not our guy, then the guy that it is out there. It's the investigation that's a mess. Well, the prosecution is still playing games, because now once it goes to once it's like literally delivered to the district attorney, so like the case is like, okay, here's your investigators, they put all this stuff together, the investigation is a disaster, goes to your prosecutor. It's your prosecutor's responsibility, the district attorney's responsibility now, to put all that together, have it in order to be able to hand it over to whoever the defense attorneys are. So there is some culpability there that he doesn't have. Like, how does he not know where any of that is? If it's his case that he's saying, yeah, there's definitely enough evidence to go forward, then he should be holding the investigators accountable. Why is it that the defense coming forward saying, hey, we want to talk to this professor that you guys talked to? Why didn't Nick McClelland say that to the investigators? Hey, where the hell's this professor that you guys talked to? You see what I mean? Like, it just, I don't know. It's like, this is like the who's watching the watchers. That's where I'm at. Like, who's saying, hey, the only people being watched are the defense team for some reason. And that's fine, but just watch them both then. Yes, they do. Absolutely. I totally agree. Okay, where are we at? It's taking me forever to go through these. I apologize, you guys. I just keep getting, every time I read something, I'm like, okay, let me go over here. Requires a judge. Rule 2.11 of the Idaho. God, now I'm thinking about Idaho. Indiana Code of Judicial Conduct requires a judge to disqualify himself or herself when the judge's impartiality might reasonably be questioned. Such is the case in this cause of action for the reasons described below. Rule 1.2 of the Indiana Code of Judicial Conduct states a judge shall act at all times in a manner that promotes public confidence in the independence, integrity, and the impartiality of the judiciary, and shall avoid impropriety and the appearance of impropriety. Dun, dun, dun. As previously stated, Judge Gull strong-armed attorneys Rozzi and Baldwin with a prepared statement that she intended to read into the record had either attorney resisted her efforts to remove them from the defense. Within minutes, Judge Gull took the bench, started the record, and informed those present and the viewing public that there existed an unexpected turn of events, with the defense team withdrawing from the case. Judge Gull further stated that these circumstances were clearly outside of our control. The only clarity offered by these statements is that they were entirely inconsistent with her actions in chambers just minutes earlier, that forced the attorneys to consider withdrawal in this manner. These words run afoul of Rule 2.1, as they demonstrate the tribunal's lack of integrity and impartiality toward the public, and I don't know how to say that, Defendant Allen's right to competent legal representation. Rule 2.2 of the Indiana Code of Judicial Conduct requires that a judge shall uphold and apply the law and shall perform all duties of judicial office fairly and impartially. Comment 1 to the rule states, to ensure impartiality and fairness to all parties, a judge must be objective and open-minded. I don't think so. I don't think she is. I didn't think she was just by the look on her face. She was like smiling. She like smirked. Rule 2.15 of the Indiana Code of Judicial Conduct in pertinent part states, be a judge having knowledge that a lawyer has committed a violation of the rules of professional conduct that raises a substantial question regarding the lawyer's honesty, trustworthiness, or fitness as a lawyer in other respects shall inform the appropriate authority. It does not indicate that in any such opinion of the court allows removal of appointed counsel without due process and against the wishes of the accused. It also does not state that you should go in open court with cameras and a jury box full of people who have no reason to be there and say and publicly shame them. Like, you can't do that either. Judge Gull has violated rules 1.2, 2.2, 2.3, 2.6, 2.8, and 2.11 of the Indiana Code of Judicial Conduct. I swear and affirm under the penalties of perjury that the foregoing representations are true. Oh my gosh, you guys, I don't even know what to think. Yeah, defense demanded the cameras. They didn't demand them, they requested them, but I mean, I'm glad they did. Somebody asked if I think Brian Koberger is the guy. I think that they're on the right track. I think that they're going with the right guy. I do. I haven't seen anything that puts me into a different direction yet. Everything I've watched with that case, I think that they got the right guy. And up until recently, I was, like I said, I try to ultimately have faith in the judicial system and in law enforcement until I have a reason not to. You guys all know, like, my dad was a cop, my uncle was a cop, my cousins are cops, I went to school to be a cop. I think that the majority of people are doing it for the right reasons. They're not doing it for the paycheck necessarily. I think they're doing it for the right reasons. And so I try to err on the side that I think that they're doing the right thing. When they arrested Richard Allen, I was like, okay, they did their due diligence. It took them a really long time and it was kind of messy, but they must have got their ducks in a row, and we're going to go. We're going to go with it. And then, like, things started happening with the weird, he's not eating, the confession, the eating papers. And I was like, all right, well, shit, some guilt can really get to people. It really can. I never really liked all the secrecy and all the craziness around like why they wouldn't say anything. I thought it was really strange when they changed all the information back in 2019. And so I think for me, what the memorandum did wasn't make me go, oh my gosh, that's exactly it. The odinist did it. What it made me think was everything that we always heard and thought about the crime scene being odd and ritualistic and weird things being there, you know, weird form. We were told, I mean, I was told a long time ago that something was carved into the tree. So things were like really close to what we had always heard rumors of. And so I always questioned like why they were so secret. And then all of a sudden we find out that there's so much that they're hiding with this close to the vest stuff, and that they kept all this close to the vest so that when they did get a confession, it would, you know, only the killer would know that. So then in Richard Allen's confession, does he say something that only the killer would know that makes us know that it was him? I'm just not sold now. I'm like, are we even prosecuting the right guy? There's so much, the timing of everything, the timing of everything in this case, the timing of the arrest, the timing of this leak, everything in between, all the timing of it is just so bizarre. Right, hybrid pie. It's kind of where I'm at. I'm like, I just don't believe you guys anymore. I don't believe them anymore. I don't have any faith in that they're doing the right thing. So ultimately, whether he's innocent or guilty, I don't believe them anymore. I don't believe that this is going to be justice. I don't believe that keeping him in a prison, especially if they are. So let's just say that attorneys are removed. They're gone. And then he has to get new attorneys. And now we wait another year and a half or whatever for them to get caught up on the case. And she just lets him sit in prison. I have a major problem with that. And I get some people they don't care. They think it's fine. All right, whatever. For me, it's a huge problem. He doesn't have the constitutional rights of even a convicted felon that's locked up there. It's like he's just like a lone wolf all on his own. Like figure it out, and nobody's paying attention to what's actually happening to you because you're not really accounted for anywhere. Yeah, he sure did, didn't he? He sure did. And then tried to give his one sister a blue coat. Yeah, she brought cameras into the courtroom for her 3-minute hearing. And that's why I'm like, if they have something else, I'm totally good. Like if you got something else, if you're going to tell me that you know the girl's DNA is on his clothes or was found on his shoes, or you know, just give me. I just need something else that says. I don't even know, because I'd have to. That's probably not even true. I'm probably actually lying, because now I'd be like, wait a minute. Where I need a chain of custody on those shoes because I don't believe anything you say. And I have no trust. There's no trust there. So now, like anything they say, I probably have to question it. But there's got to be something else. There's got to be something that puts it together. The corruption is sticking. Yeah, everything here stinks. Ellie wouldn't have to lie to make this happen. If they had him and they had enough evidence, I just don't know how we ended up here. And I think that there's a big thing to go with it now that the attorneys are being removed. How many of us are talking about the attorneys being removed and what's actually happening? And even the conversations that were happening in here, it's like, no, the attorneys aren't removed. And then, no, yes, they are. No, they're not. Now everybody, da-da-da-da-da. And it's like, well, have we forgotten that there's witness statements that don't make sense? That their timing does not add up, that there's no way that they can say that they saw him when they saw him if they weren't actually there. How about that Liggett lied in his search warrant, saying that the reason we're going for this is because he was walking down the street muddy and bloody, and then the witness is like, that's not what I said. I never said that. I said that he was wearing a tan coat and he was muddy. That could have been any farmer out there. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like, nobody's talking about the fact that they're liars now. Nobody's talking about all the things that are missing from evidence, essentially. That's all gone. We're all talking about the leaked crime scene photos and what's going to happen with the attorneys. Everybody forgets that there's evidence that still wasn't turned over, that they did not want to turn over by the deadline. Ironic that the deadline was November 1st. And now look at where we are. Hey, Julie. Due process is what we should all want. Absolutely. Hi, MJ. Yeah, this is a giant distraction. Nobody cares anymore that we've got a bunch of investigators that are lying. But we do have people that are talking to some of the people that are involved in this and are really pushing a damn narrative out here to the public that we're just supposed to sit back and buy. Mark's a really good guy, a real good guy. He didn't mean no harm. Murder Sheet, they don't, they're just out here doing their podcast. I'm like, why? So you guys, if you guys aren't familiar with me from years ago, I was heavily invested into the Watts case, and the Watts family and the Ruzick family, Shanann's family, and Chris Watts' family, they were both going at it on social media, and essentially at the end of the whole thing, what I ended up with was that there was groups. So the Watts family would talk to social media personalities, and then the Ruzicks would talk to social media personalities, and they would, instead of coming out themselves and saying anything, they would push these narratives, and they would tell like one podcaster this, but then they'd tell another podcaster this, and then those two podcasters would even end up fighting, and then they'd tell another one over here, and then the Ruzicks were saying nope, this is how it goes, and then those people start talking to smaller channels. So the smaller channels then go, oh my gosh, these bigger channels are my friend. I can't believe they even want to talk to me. Like, they're so popular, and I'm just like, at 1,000 subs, and they feel special. And I ended up just referring to these people as like handlers, and there was like different levels of handlers, but the families ultimately were always at the top of that. They were feeding out a narrative that they wanted us on social media to believe. And what we ended up doing, and why I refuse to do it now, is we were all fighting with each other. Everybody on social media was like, nope, we believe this camp, nope, we're this camp, and everybody just, it starts fighting. And what I see when it comes to Delphi, and like I've told you guys before, I'm not somebody who's watched a lot of Delphi people, I hate calling them Delphi creators, but like content creators that specifically cover Delphi or cover Delphi a lot. I've never really been involved in that. But as I have now succumbed to this rabbit hole of all rabbit holes with Delphi after the memorandum, what I see is essentially the same type of thing. And I see it happening. That's why I Unmasked Truth. That's one of the reasons I walked away from Summer's case, because it happened there too. You end up and you're being handled. And I want people to keep their eyes open and realize, without anything that backs up the truth, don't just buy it, because you don't know where that person is giving you their information from. And I'm telling you that from somebody who was in that position. I was talking to the Watts family. I was going on social media and defending and giving a narrative that I was being sold because I thought I was doing the right thing, not because I'm a terrible person. And that's why I say I won't sit here and fight with people. I won't fight with like the people who are creating content around Delphi, whether I agree with them or not, because the next case that comes along, we may absolutely agree and we can have an alliance. And instead of and by going on social media and yelling about any one of you guys or another content creator or anything like that, all I'm doing is taking away from the actual case. And then the case becomes about me and my fight with whomever. And that's not important to me. So I won't do it. But what I'm telling you is be careful. Be careful what you listen to, because you don't know what the agenda is behind it. And I don't mean everybody has one. But I see it here. I see that happening. I see that happening with, We saw, you know, a big popular case that we saw it with was Amber Heard and Johnny Depp. We saw it all over. They had like social media personalities that were physically going out into the world and pushing and pushing and pushing a narrative when nobody knew. So just watch for that. Watch where these people are getting their information. And then if you have content creators that you hear saying almost exactly the same thing, and you're like, or they have the same inside information, they're getting it from the same side that's pushing that narrative. It just, we could very well have that happening with the prosecution and the defense team. And I'm not saying one side or the other. I'm saying it could be definitely happening with both. That's why I don't, these leaks to me aren't like, oh, it's just such an accident. All right, let me go back. Sorry, I started going off. Because I feel it. I can feel it in the way that people don't like each other. I can feel it in the way that people are addressing certain information that's coming out. I'm just like, I feel like it's all over again. It's happening all over again. And probably not all over again because it's probably been happening in Delphi and I just wasn't watching it that closely. Yes, they did. They still do. That's not done. It's not over. Yep. For any that were there at the hearings, and if you are discerning, then you would have seen it from the beginning. Trust me. I gave FG the benefit of the doubt, and was hopeful. I was hopeful too. I thought like getting a judge from outside of Carroll County, I was like, at least they're going to have, you know, they'll be able to go into that courtroom and not have bias towards any of these people. They won't know them per se. You know what I mean? All Rozzi had to say is that he had nothing to do with it. Everything says that, correct? Essentially, he's saying like, there's no reason. If she thought I did something really bad and grossly negligent, why didn't she report me? Is essentially what he's saying. And the way now you don't like. I don't know if I don't like her. I just don't understand it. I don't. It doesn't make sense to me that she's hiding one side's info and not hiding the others. Or I shouldn't say hiding. That's not the right word. Sealing. There's something off with that. And I already thought something was going on when she came out and said everything happened in chambers. And I was like, why did she say to McClellan that you've been here for hours? She came into the courtroom at like 2:30 and it was supposed to start at like 2. Why would McClellan have been there for hours? And why would all of those witnesses have been there for hours? The math ain't mathin'. That's really where I ended up at. And so is it her? Is it somebody above her? Is there something else that we aren't privy to? That's where I'm at. Like, I don't know. But I had faith in the fact, not her per se, but I was just happy they brought somebody from outside in. I mean, because look at Judge Fouts. Like, ugh. If they had no idea that they was going to be asked or told to leave the case, why did Baldwin have a lawyer for himself to stay on the case? I don't think it was. I think that they knew because of the whole things that had arisen. And then obviously they knew something was up because she told them on October 12th not to have anything to do, like not to actively work on the case at all. But yet they had a status hearing coming up, which doesn't make sense because the status hearing should go over, okay, let's, make sure that we've got, this is what we're going to do for the Franks motion. Let's cover up, go through all these other motions and so on and so forth. That's what that hearing should have been according to what she put it on the docket as. And then like other things that have recently arisen, so I think they were like, wait a minute, she's telling us that we can't work on the case. She's not telling us what we're supposed to talk about in court and what motions we're going to be prepared to argue, because they have to go in and they have to be prepared to argue these motions and say, this is why we feel XYZ. She's not even telling them what they're going to be. There's plenty of open motions. She didn't tell them what to even come and address. Are just turning blind eyes and pushing the bullshit spoon-fed narratives and pretending everyone else is just liars and wrong. I don't think that's the issue. Is I don't have any idea who the liars and who's wrong. And that's what just keeps me coming back. I'm like, ugh. RA worked in his community. It always bothered me why no one came forward when the BG pick came out. No one came forward and ID'd RA. People saw him every day, yet RA is now supposed to be guilty. I do feel that that probably would have happened with anybody in that town, though, because it's almost the same as like the opposite. If you go opposite of that, it's like everybody looks like Bridge Guy. Every guy that we would compare and like put side by sides up, I was like, yep, that's him. And then of course it's not him. And so I think it kind of go both ways. I think everybody assumed it was everybody, and then you're just kind of like, well, maybe the person isn't even from around here. A lot of people came forward and talking about Logan. Which Logan, Maxwell or Holder? Because they were both out there. Sorry if I don't make sense. I just realized I'm halfway back. Shelly, it's okay. If it walks like a duck. I continued to deny what I saw in FG, but I couldn't. Trust me, there was obvious bias at the second hearing. Yep. She's required to report it, and she didn't. Talk about gross negligence, right? It's the Odinism members controlling this case. Seems legit by their own actions. They seem to have issues with auditors in Carroll County, too. He called shots. He rotted in prison for a year, then house arrest. I'd say, are you insane? But I don't know which that one's in regards to. Faust don't even get no investigations into him or his boys club. That shit was repulsive. That was, yeah, bad. Bad. Scottish Queen. I know. What was I thinking? Yeah, Mike Patty was on the list. Tobe Lesenby was on the list. All those people still not ruled out to this day. Not cleared. Dun, dun, dun. I saw Richard Allen weekly at CVS and was the nicest guy ever. I've actually read a lot of comments from people that did go in there, and they said that he was always very helpful. He was very kind. If you needed help finding something, he would help you. I mean, we even heard, like, as weird as it is, that when they went in to get the pictures for the memorial, like, he just gave them to him and didn't even charge them. Now, I mean, like, if he's guilty, that's weird. And if he's not guilty, then that goes to his character of being a nice guy. So it's such a weird situation. Uncle Mark Perry said the same thing. Yeah, I've seen it a lot. There's only one person that I saw, and that doesn't mean that there's not more out there, because I obviously haven't seen everything, but I remember seeing the one story of the lady who worked at JC's who said he was always very, very nice, always very polite. And then one time that they were in a pool tournament and he lost, and Kathy was still in, and it lasted hours, and he was tired of sitting there, and so he just kept getting more pissed and more pissed until, like, he yelled at her, like, we're leaving, we're not staying here anymore. Now, once again, that's on social media. That person, I don't even know if they're telling the truth. Yes, they knew something was up, but had an entire setup with a full panel of Ellie. It was not only a gotcha moment, it was planned to embarrass on TV after Dee was handcuffed by her 1 week prior. Unethical. That's what I think. The fact that they were there, sitting there in that jury box, doesn't add up to me. Oracles of Delphi. The repeated story that they didn't find anything on Logan is bullshit. They didn't search his property for 3 weeks, and the FBI had him as the prime suspect. And Jackie, was the FBI even at the search? Did they actually go to the search at Ron Logan's property? I wonder if they went to the one on March 6th. But I don't think that they were at the one that we saw on the news. I don't remember seeing any FBI there. I don't think she meant handcuffed, like, literally. She means, like, when she tells them they can't work on his case, basically cease all involvement on 10/12. Like, more metaphorically handcuffed. Hi, Boshi. Yeah, that would be a great question to answer, right? Well, whatever happened with the white truck? I'm so confused on where the white truck went. Wasn't there a white truck that everybody was looking for back at the beginning? Like, there was like and people thought it might have been a work vehicle. They didn't. Okay, but they didn't search, right? They weren't physically on the property. Like that's what I said. I'm wondering if they were actually there on the 6th when they didn't actually have to go. They were able to just go in and look at the firearms. And they searched all the outbuildings, the vehicles. There was a white car, a white truck that was supposedly parked by the abandoned CPS building earlier in the day. That's why I have so many of those kind of questions. Kevin, are you Freckled Joy? Are you talking about Kevin? Kevin and Keith? One was, I don't remember which, they were twins. One, oh, you're asking Julie anyway. I'll probably just keep my mouth shut. Yes, white truck. Delphi Utilities has white truck that I saw near Metsy's house, near the service entrance as well. Yeah, there was always like commentary about that, about a white like work truck. Oh, like a victim's advocate? That's a great question. Google murder sheets Ron Logan. Okay, I'll go back and listen to it. There's just as much stuff that was strange and suspicious that has been hidden. I just don't. That's why Mike. Why hide it? Why is so much hidden? And it's weird, like that. Like Carrie was treated like as such an outsider, and she didn't live there. So like they wouldn't tell her anything, and they tried to blame it on like her quote unquote non-relationship with her kids, even though she had just literally talked to Libby that morning, and like her past. But Derek's past was this, the same if not worse at that moment in time, and they had no problem talking through him. But then they made Mike Patty. I don't know. I have so many questions, like with that kind of stuff. This is why I need to talk with Julie too, because I know she'll have some of those answers just from talking with all these people before. Where's the answer to the 613 motion for ballistics? The motion in limine? That's what I was asking earlier too. There's no answer to that. It reminds me of Clue and Sherlock Holmes, which is probably why people can't stop talking about it. It was reported being there on the 13th. You do remember that. Victim witness advocates should help defendants' families too. They should, especially when they're not convicted. The young sketch, you mean, JC Marty? Hey, Foxfire. Julie, I'm gonna have to message you so that we can hopefully we can just set something up. You can come up, and because I have, like I said, I have a whole list of questions, and then obviously people in chat have tons of questions too. Maybe we can set up a time if you're available that we can do that. Libby was Carrie's baby, and she was just pushed out. I know, I can't stand it. It just doesn't make sense to me. But it's like only the people who were on the quote unquote inside, they're the ones that mattered. Oh, you mean the young sketch? Somebody else the other day told me they thought it was Evan. That's why I think another reason I think that people are quote unquote fascinated with this case is because statistically this crime should not have happened. Every part of it during the day, 2 young girls with a knife. Yeah, it just statistically it doesn't occur. Unbelievable. All right, sorry. My husband was let me know my tiny human isn't feeling very good, I guess. Yeah, I know you probably we might have to do more than one, Julie, because like I said, I have a whole list of wrap it up so I can go check on my tiny human, see what's going on. He's had a really bad cough the last few days anyway. So odonite pharmacists are rare statistically. Yeah, and then you talk about just if you can continue the statistics of it, having somebody who's not been found guilty in a court of law put into a prison, having odonites, in the area of the crime, of it looking ritualistic, all the different statistics. I don't even know. I'd have to like sit down and write down statistics on each part of that, and then if you put all that together and combine it the way that this case has, the crime never should have happened. They did, but then now they say it's the same one. Julie, tell you about the cabin criminality. That's her belief. Who knows? That'd be meaningful info. Oh, the shacky little cabin down there. I've heard of that's a lot of people. When I very first started talking to people on social media about the case, it was either people thought the barn across the street, Muir's barn, or the shack, the little cabin. That's like groups created around that. So, okay, I'm going to wrap it up. Thank you guys for this coming in and watching this very impromptu, crazy. I don't even know what's going to happen. No idea where we're going to land with Attorney Rozzi. Ultimately, I'm just glad that he's still in the fight, at least for now. He ultimately could be pushed out, and it could happen. Don't know. But I appreciate each and every single one of you guys. Like I tell you all the time, I know that you guys have like 1,000 other places that you could be, and you come and hang out with me. And I appreciate you guys being kind to each other. I really do. And I hope my explanation of why I just refuse to fight over a case, like I won't do it, and why I just want people to be kind, because we're all just human beings. So, just be kind to one another. Make somebody's day instead of ruining it. That's how I feel. So I appreciate you guys. I will do my best to be back tomorrow. Not really sure where that's going to land, because Tiny Human does have his school carnival, but if he's not feeling well, I'm not sure how we're going to end up there. So I don't know. And who knows what's going to be filed tomorrow, especially now with this. I thank you guys. I will see you as soon as I possibly can. And whew, try to do something fun instead of this craziness. Appreciate you all. Bye.